Yo, what's up everyone? Welcome to my channel, Wealthy Mindset. Hope you guys are all doing well. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about BlackBerry stock because they're having the BlackBerry Investor Briefing at CES, which is today, January 10th, 2024, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, which is going to be roughly about 3 minutes. But I wanted to show one thing quickly before we start to the conference call. Not the conference call, but the BlackBerry Investor Briefing. Again, the CES show is held in Las Vegas as a tech show. Tech show where a bunch of companies appear and show a bunch of tech that they have in the future, hypothetically. I already have it pulled up right about here. Here's the guest speakers. And I just want to go over one thing. So again, yesterday I mentioned about the Foxconn, Stellantis, and all that stuff. The one thing I confused a little bit was in terms of they're already producing vehicles, I thought one, maybe up to three. I did post underneath that video and pinned it right off the bat within 30 seconds of uploading. I was going to try to edit, but it takes too long. But I still want to go over this again, even though I pinned it underneath that video, because it's very important. Foxconn, the Taiwanese company best known for building Apple iPhones recently, and then not just Apple iPhones, they've built quite like other manufacturers' phones as well. So it's not just Apple iPhones. Recently showed off 2 new electric vehicles at an event I don't know how to pronounce that exactly, as the company expanded on its plans to do for cars what it already has done for phones. The company officially Hon Hai Technology Group, better known as Foxconn, hopes to build 5% of the world's electric cars by 2025. That is pretty impressive. The reason why I want to go over this is because BlackBerry Ivy, they signed with BlackBerry Ivy. If you saw from the press release, I could actually pull it up quickly. Again, BlackBerry Investor Relations website, go down to read press releases, and it was just announced yesterday, which I guess they have another one press release to it as of January 10th. But this was yesterday. Mobility in Harmony MIH construction. Foxconn initiative selects BlackBerry Ivy to power its next generation electric production vehicles, which is amazing. So 5%, so on and so forth. We're about to start in a minute, but before that, they want to increase that as well further past that. So Chairman Liu Young Wei said at the event, according to Reuters, his ultimate goal is to one day approach the 40 to 45% share the company has in computer and software manufacturing, he said. So I'm assuming from what he's trying to say is get to 40 to 45 production of electric vehicles, just like they are doing in the cell phone marketplace. And then there's additional stuff. Just basically, I confused Magna, which is producing BMW, Mercedes, and all stuff, with Foxconn a little bit. But yeah, that's what they're trying to get to. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to change. No, okay. So when the call starts, in terms of the investor briefing, I'm going to disappear and get muted. And then I'll just reflect after. Looks like they're about to start. They haven't started yet, but do you think? Yeah, they haven't started yet, but they'll start soon. Test 1, 2. One sec.
It's here, the future of software-defined vehicles, built by BlackBerry to ensure you're future-ready today and for years to come. With the latest BlackBerry Ivy design win, customers are leveraging its data platform at the edge and in the cloud. Through early access availability of our hypervisor in the cloud, we're adding to our available QNX real-time operating system. As for acoustics, we've launched QNX Sound, empowering designers and engineers to develop immersive software-defined audio experiences. And finally, the launch of our next-generation QNX software development platform 8.0. Our highest performance real-time operating system ever that scales on the latest high-powered multi-core chipsets. SDP 8.0 is designed to enable software developers in automotive, robotics, medical, industrial, and beyond. Together, we'll harness the power and opportunities of processor advancements for now and generations to come. Because BlackBerry QNX isn't just leading the future, we're enabling you to be future ready. Join us as our ride into the future begins now. Without further ado, here's Tim Foote, Vice President Investor Relations, to share more.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the BlackBerry IoT booth here in Las Vegas at CES. Delighted as always to have you join us. And with me today, I've got Matthias Eriksson, President of the Business Unit. Hi Matthias, how are you doing?
Doing fine, thank you, Tim.
I've got Mr. QNX, or the head of BlackBerry QNX, John Wall. Hi John.
Hello.
And we've got Vito Giallorenzo, the head of BlackBerry Ivy. So, we want this to be an interactive session, so everyone here in the room with us, here at the booth, please feel free to ask your questions. We've got a mic runner who'll get a mic to you if you do, so please just raise your hand. Everyone online, if you can please put your questions into the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, that would be marvellous. We may not get to all of them, but we'll try and get through as many as we can in the time that we have. Okay, so let's begin. So, Matthias, lots of press releases, lots of news here at CES from BlackBerry. For the benefit of everyone in the room and online, which ones should we be thinking about most? Which are the most important?
So you're sort of asking us to pick among our children's?
Exactly, that's it, yeah.
No, this is a continuity story. I hope you have a chance to go down on the floor and talk to the team directly. The big ones are, first of all, we had GA'd SDP8, and John will tell you more about the importance of that. I think you all understand how critical that release is. 10 years since we did the last major release, 4 years in the making, major step change overall. The second one, which I think I've gotten the most attention for, is the announcement we made around execution on the cloud. So last year we talked about putting QNX in the cloud. This year, for those of you who paid attention, we have a joint announcement with Stellantis and AWS around really making a major step forward for this notion of having edge cloud parity. And you saw the quote from Stellantis, 100x improvement in cycle speed. I mean, this, we believe, is a major step change and much more to come. And then, obviously, we have a couple of other that are also important. QNX Sound. As you know, we have very significant sound capabilities. We have now consolidated that into one offering. We actually have our first major OEM win. I cannot tell you who it is, but we are very excited about it. We believe it's a fantastic solution. We believe it's the only one on the market, and we're in execution mode for that. And then last but not least, you can see the execution for Ivy. There are a number of partners downstairs. They have moved the needle on it. We are in execution in a number of POCs, and we have another announcement that have gone out around our second design win. So there's a lot here. Many children.
Very good, very good. So we'll try and delve into a little bit more detail. So given the importance, I'll bring John in, the importance of SDP 8.0, just what exactly has been announced and why should everyone be so excited about it?
So the importance of SDP 8 is performance in a nutshell. The cars are moving to higher performance compute. We're starting to see chips that will have 4 cores, 8 cores, 16 cores. We need to be able to scale in performance with those chipsets. The car companies pay a lot of money for those chips, so they expect to see the performance from those chips. This is critical that we've been able to maintain backwards compatibility with the previous version of the operating system, so no heavy lift to move to SDP 8. We've been able to maintain the functional safety certification. The design has been approved. We're in the process of getting it certified. And we've improved the security capabilities of the product. So this is a future-proof product for us. It's the foundation of everything we do. Our hypervisor is based on this. Our hypervisor for safety is based on this. And our OS for safety is based on this. They will all benefit from these improvements of performance, but the key being we did surgical work. The core of the operating system is the same, and so the lift is very easy to move to this version.
So just following on from that, so when people talk about QNX, to me, safety is kind of seen as the moat. It's the thing that defines QNX. So we're talking performance here. Outside of safety, we hear a lot about Linux. So how does this position QNX versus Linux, for instance?
So Linux was the North Star that we were going after from a performance perspective. I think it puts us in a very good position where the moat is deeper now, because there's not, and this is something that people tend to forget, we're also a real-time operating system. So when you're talking about systems within the vehicle, real-time matters. And what we mean by real-time is determinism, jitter, very low jitter. So now that we have the performance, I feel like the customer's not making a trade-off. It's a win-win to go with QNX.
Marvelous. Any questions in the room at this point? Okay, so I'll keep going. So in terms of, from a financial perspective then, John, so would this be accretive in terms of revenue, margins? How should we be thinking about this release?
So we have developed a number of new business models with SDP8 that are based on core count, for instance. There's also an uplift to move to SDP8. We feel that the performance benefits, the ability to extract maximum performance from the silicon while maintaining safety and security has a value. Now, as you know, Tim, I'm not allowed to talk about numbers.
Yeah, that's probably best. Okay.
But I mean, you're absolutely right, and we're not here to talk about numbers. But the way to think about it, we start an upgrade cycle. So you're putting a new platform out there. It provides significantly more value. There's no trade-off anymore on the performance side. You have all the safety and security benefits. You're starting an upgrade cycle. What John is hinting at is it's a software development platform. So because it's GA doesn't mean the car is shipped tomorrow. Huh? So the work starts now, but this is the start of an upgrade cycle, and of course it's going to be accretive.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Not seeing any hands, so I'm going to continue for now. So let's switch to cloud. So we announced a little while back that the real-time operating system, the RTOS, is available in the cloud, John. And we announced now that the hypervisor has joined it. So what does that mean in reality, and how significant is that as a development for QNX?
This is major going into the future. This is how software development is going to be done. You're going to see more and more emulation in the cloud for peripherals. You're going to see more and more development being done. If you look at a complex development for a car, you're talking about distributed teams all over the world. I've been part of these programs where software versions are not matching, people have the wrong tools. This is a way of centralizing your development. You know, maybe today you can do 50% of your development, you know, then you still have to do the development on the actual hardware. But this is going to continue to iterate, and this is going to be a major time to market value for the end customer. And this is the future of software development. It is critical that our products are running in the cloud, because now the customer, the foundational software that's running in the car is running in the cloud. It's not modified. It's exactly the same product.
So is this another step forward in what we talk about reducing developer friction, just making QNX much more friendly to the developer community?
That's definitely one aspect, but if you look at the Stellantis PR that came out yesterday, the workbench, the way that we integrate our tools, the way that we are able to provide our artifacts, safety artifacts, security artifacts, CVEs, SKUs, tools, this is also a big part of what we're doing. It's on the tooling side, and it's on the actual target side in the cloud.
Yep, we got a question over there. Can we get a mic over to Shreyas?
Thanks. Two questions. One, when you talk about the kind of tools that are already pre-built into this, do we have a sense of how many, you know, is it, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, and then can developers bring in their own, you know, because I think in a lot of cases OEMs have these distributed teams, as you mentioned, but they tend to also have, you know, maybe 150 tools that they're using. So can they do that?
Yeah, so the idea for us is we're not building an end-to-end CI/CD pipeline. What we're doing is we're providing interfaces to our products so that the customer can use whatever
That's with MIH. I think there was an announcement with MIH not so long ago as well. So I just wondered if you could expand on what the design win means and how, if anything, it relates to the previous one.
Yeah, so this announcement confirms selection of Ivy for both their production vehicles as well as MIH design and contract manufacturing platform to third-party OEMs. Before, I think they selected QNX and they were evaluating Ivy. So this is a new milestone that we achieved with them. It's very exciting for exactly this reason. It's obviously a new OEM. They are producing their own EV vehicles. Actually, they have a list of vehicles that they're going to produce starting in 2025, and you can see one of them there. But it's B2B mainly, commercial, but also passenger 3, 6, 9-seaters, and some delivery trucks too. But additionally, and possibly even more importantly, this is part of what Foxconn will offer to EV OEM as their manufacturing platform. So we think it's a great customer OEM win. It's a great channel win because of Foxconn presence in Asia and globally. So very excited. We demoed three use cases, very fleet management focused, them here and there. So it's a big step change. It's a big potential for Ivy. So very excited about it.
Excellent. So just generally, in terms of progress that's being made with Ivy, where do you think we are with this business right now, and where can we go?
So tell you, the way we manage, the way we report Ivy, when we talk to John, to the board, it's three components, right? It's platform progresses at high level, go-to-market, which for us is channel and customer penetration, and ecosystem, because we think ecosystem is extremely important. So platform development, we launched GA, which seems a lot of time ago, but it's 6 months ago. So relatively recently, but we achieved a lot. We have built a new release, which is the one that is going in production in China with Pateo very soon. So that continues to progress. We work with Amazon a lot. They renewed their commitment. They continue to work with us. So on the development side, going very well. Go-to-market, so new customer, lots of expanded POCs. I think we mentioned it before, but we have very large global automakers. We have commercial trucking leading companies. We have tier ones. So as we would like to convert them and be able to talk about them sooner, but we see a great traction there. Both in, as I said, it's channel and customers. And you see, I think we announced Mitsubishi Electric. They put it in their car. They're bringing a lot of customer along. Bosch is here. So that go-to-market penetration is going very well in just 6 months since GA launch. And then the ecosystem has grown a lot. So we have 20 solutions packed between our floor, our booth and the other booth, and that's a lot. And we did it in 2 months. We have, I think we have 40 customers, 40 partner that onboarded. We have a long list. So the ecosystem is growing well, and that brings a lot of value, the go-to-market. I mean, just the money we saved by being able to do this, it's a lot. The impact we have by bringing to customers solutions they want to buy, it's a lot. So I think those three things I think are going pretty well, and that's how I would summarize 3 vectors of growth.
Excellent. So yesterday I was showing some investors around the Jeep that we've got down there. It demonstrates how you can move away from physical sensors to software-defined sensors. This was talking about tire wear, for instance. Wondered if you could expand a little bit on some of the things we're showing down at the booth.
So the wide range of solutions, right? So there is all around the operations of the vehicle. So tire wear, which I think you alluded to the Michelin use case. We have a lot of other ways to use software sensors, also brake wear, mass and load estimation, which is very important for fleet to know, to estimate the state of charge, to estimate the range, to obviously use the vehicles more efficiently. So they're all these sensors are expensive. I think Compredic was telling me that a load sensor costs like $1,000. So compare that to the cost it takes you to just build a sensor with Ivy. It's a big saving. And so I think there's that. There's a lot of driver monitoring and passenger monitoring for personalization and also for safety. So I think you saw it in the booth. We identify the driver. Then you can personalize the content with a company called Cinemo. We have a company called Emotion 3D and iDrive. So it's for that, but it's also for safety. Detect distraction, fatigue, drowsiness, for all this kind of safety. Safety in a different definition of safety, but safety use cases. That's what also Mitsubishi Electric is showing. There's that. A lot of one very important a lot of customers have asked is first loss notification, so crash notification and forensic. So automate with Nexar. Again, you use machine learning to detect the crash, but also to collect all and really streamline that painful insurance process that always happens. We have payments. We have cybersecurity with upstream security here and with VIC1 with MIH. So again, think of Ivy being the endpoint security agent that can, in real time, run machine learning, detect a potential breach, and alert. Sure, I'm forgetting some, but we have a lot of system integrators too. So Ricardo, Intellias at their booth, a lot of these system integrators are developing Ivy capabilities, so they can offer it to their customers. I mean, I've heard from one of these partners yesterday that they've developed several use cases in their car. It took them 1 year to build a use case. They said they started with Ivy in late September and they finished in early December. So they said, I saved, the guy who did it said he thought he needed to hire 5 to 10 people at least to do it, and it would take him maybe 9 months. It took him 2 months and he didn't have to hire anyone because all the wrapping, all the integration was already done. So we hear good things from the ecosystem, and they are sometimes the best testimonials for us.
So I guess listening to what you say there, it's kind of like you're offering straight off the shelf, but also just demonstrating just how easy it is to develop your own custom experiences and services on Ivy. So, because one of the questions I get, Vito, is, well, why would an OEM go down this path when they want to have their own unique software-defined experiences? But I guess Ivy doesn't preclude them from doing that. In actual fact, it just makes it easier for them to do that.
Different customers want different things. I mean, we are working with a very large OEM. They want to buy Ivy plus a lot of these solutions, which is great for us because we will resell them. Other, they want to build their own. Like if you look at Mitsubishi Electric, they build their own solutions with Ivy. Ivy is a tool like QNX and allows you to do both. I get the sense that the OEM SDV strategy is still not fully defined. And not many of these guys have figured out what they want to build, what they want to buy. And so the ability to offer a menu of solution and tailor it to what they need, it's what not all OEMs have the capabilities to use these tools. And in those cases, if you can go and show them and potentially sell them an end-to-end solution, it makes the go-to-market easier. Others, they don't need it.
Shreyas? We'll come to you afterwards, Jeffrey. Shreyas just...
Thanks. Just picking up on that first point about software-defined sensors that you can enable, maybe I may not be as familiar, but can you maybe explain how that works? And do you have a sense of like how many sensors potentially could be either removed or made less complex? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So the concept is there's a lot of hardware sensors. So you can build and buy a hardware sensor, install it in the car, and that sensor monitors things. Like the example we made, the load of the car. Some other things actually cannot really be monitored with a sensor, like tire wear would be very convenient, and so you can replace that with an algorithm. So ComPredict does that. So you could talk to them too. I can introduce them. That's their business, and so you build machine learning models that use signals that are actually sensed in the car, speed, brake, acceleration, location, whatever it is, to predict the tear, the wear, or the behavior of a potential sensor that is now virtual. So you have replaced what you had to build hardware with a virtual sensor. So it's a huge cost savings for automakers. It's obviously a hard thing to do. It's the machine learning, data science aspect of it. It's pretty complicated, but if you can do it well, it's a big savings. Sorry, was there a second part to your question that I missed?
Jeffrey?
Thanks, Rami. Vito, a big challenge with fleets is mixed fleets, right? So a fleet operator will have multiple manufactured vehicles in their fleet. Do you see a world of Ivy working cross OEM? And have you gotten that request? And how hard would it be to actually do that?
That's what I pitched them. You need yes. So there are two ways to look at it. I think what we're doing with MIH. So a lot of these fleets have a fleet management system. They have a software. So if you have Ivy in your vehicle, so if the fleet can influence the automakers to deploy Ivy, then Ivy could be the connection to the fleet management system. You have one fleet management system. The integration is very easy. You do it only once. So I think there are two ways of doing it. One is just working with fleets and with OEM to kind of make the case for Ivy. The other, it's also a little bit what MIH is doing. So you actually build from scratch. So there are companies that are really targeting just fleet. That is MIH. A lot of, if you talk to Jack at Foxconn, he thinks that's where the big opportunity is in the market. And so you go after those newcomers that are only targeting fleet. They're starting today. They're more agile and get Ivy in there. But definitely to solve that problem, today that problem is solved with aftermarket dongles. And they have all sort of, we do get a lot of requests sometimes, like, can you put Ivy on an aftermarket device? And it's not optimal. So we really push the market for an embedded solution, and we think Ivy is that solution.
Thank you.
Hello. Could you tell us what does success look like for Ivy in 2024? I guess it's more contract wins, etc. But fast forward a year from now, how would you look back and say that was a good year for Ivy? And secondly, as well, I think, how are we pricing the product? And I think we probably asked that question a year ago, and it was still a work in progress. But how are you thinking about monetizing all this value add?
Yeah. So success is a good number of design wins. So it's coming here this year.
10, 20?
I would say 20 would be too much, possibly. So at the speed, I think I would say it's more kind of closer to a handful of design wins, and also having some big automaker announced, which is what we hope to be able to do. In terms of pricing, look, Ivy, what we are negotiating here, what we are signed here with our customers, it's a recurring revenue, so it's a subscription. The one that we have, for example, it's per car per year. So as I said, that's one price. That's one typical price. It's very similar to a SaaS enterprise model. You pay me per car per year prescription. They commit to a certain number of years, and then after a certain number of years, they either switch off the service or they need to renew the service. So very traditional.
How much per car?
I think I'm supposed to say.
Yeah, we can't give that at this point. But
so the way.
Yeah, obviously it's a different model because this is per year, whereas QNX, the royalty is a one-time. So when you kind of add that and maybe do a discounted cash flow, in theory it should be an uplift. But it's the importance of that regularity, the relationship with the vehicle post-production.
And again, the way I also, like when I do my own model, I assume that increase over time because I see automaker asking us to buy solutions from us, and so that increases the ARPU. And then the other model, which some automakers like, is the other one that it's usage based. So you could also pay us for sensor deployed. That I think we still think it's a very interesting one. I think a lot of them like it. It will lower the barrier to entry. It seems when the rubber hits the road, automakers just like the predictability of knowing at least that's what I pay you per year. So we are offering that. I have to say a lot of the response seems to be going towards the more fixed per car per year model. And the way we price it is that gives you a certain amount of sensors. So if then they hit above a certain number, then they will need to pay us that additional for consumption. So that's how the pricing model justify a potential increase over time inside that same production.
And this should be 2026 we start to see this revenue coming through?
So the revenue is going to come through very soon too. For example, from Dongfeng, that production is starting very soon. It's small, so I don't think it would be appropriate to report it separate, but that revenue is starting now. For example, Dongfeng, MIH, Foxconn, they're going to produce starting 2025. But yeah, all the production of this type of SDV next gen projects they're all talking 25, 26. So there is, and Matthias talked about it a lot, there is this structural kind of push in the industry. I mean, we're seeing obviously push for more standard things like cockpit and ADAS. You can only imagine what that means for more revolutionary things like Ivy and platform. So I think I would look at, for us, that ramp up will start in kind of, I would say, late 25 and then 26.
So like the contracts you'll win this year, that should kick in 26. Is that roughly the lead time, kind of a couple of years?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Great. Paul, did you have a question? I thought I saw. Thank you, Niall.
Just in regards to the POCs, can you give us some sense of the feedback you were getting from OEMs, like in terms of the reasons you win, and then conversely, or what are the reasons that you may not win?
So I would say the reason we win, what they like, is first of all, this, as I said, the speed, the simplicity of doing all the middleware, the integration, the wrapping of the sensors. I think they realize when they start doing it that it's a lot of work and it's undifferentiated work, and so they do it so rough. So the fact that they actually sit in place and it works and it's easy to deploy, so I think that's good feedback. As I mentioned, the one that said it took me 1 year instead, with Ivy it took me through 2 months. It's the same feedback we got from many of our ecosystem partners. So it's the speed and the savings in terms of R&D. The other reason is the cost savings in production. So some automakers have realized that they build these solutions all using cloud, streaming all the data to the cloud, and they work. They can demonstrate to their executive, and it's so great. When someone actually goes and does the number on insurance solution, driver score, they realize that the connectivity and cloud cost of streaming everything to the cloud, processing everything in some cloud and streaming back, it's massive. So they look at this, this was a large OEM, they looked at this cost and say, okay, these services will be unprofitable. And so with Ivy, the ability to push all that processing inside the edge with chipset compute that you have already paid and no connectivity improves. So the improvement in really profitability of the service was another reason. I think the reason why sometimes there could be hesitation, it's typically, this is great, do we do it for the current production or do we do it for the next production? So it's a next-gen capabilities, and sometimes when they're rushed, when they're late, they're kind of stripping off things to meet the production. Something like Ivy, which is next-gen, they don't need, because what you do, you squeeze few services that are there without a platform that allows you to put more, and you go to production. So I think it's usually a production rush a little bit. Some other time is, in some OEMs, especially the very, very large ones, is still this debate about, this is great, it works, but should we do it ourselves? There is always some engineer somewhere in the organization who said, oh, I can build it if you give me 500 people, 300 people. And so I think some companies, maybe I'm a bit extrapolating what I hear, but some companies might still be debating whether they should really do everything themselves, including the middleware. I would say those are the two reasons posing.
Right. So before I come to you, Will, Matthias, so we've spoken about the thesis around more sockets, more layers, so more sockets, QNX running in more domains in the car, more layers, you're adding on extra items. So we announced QNX Sound here at CES. I wondered if you could explain what it is and why it matters really, and what the significance is.
Yeah, that's a great question. And if you haven't spent any time with the team on sound, please take 10 minutes and make sure you get the rundown. So the way to think about it, there's a lot of sound components in the car. A modern car has a number of things that are tied to the sound experience. So whether it's managing the voice recognition, in-car communication, road noise cancellation, the audio and media management, there are lots and lots of sound components in the car. How has that been implemented traditionally? Well, traditionally, they've bought boxes from a number of different vendors, dedicated amplifiers, DSPs, specific software written for that hardware, and it's spread out in the OEM across multiple different departments. We have a very significant capability that John Wall invested in many, many years ago, arguably a little bit early, but we invested for a long time and we believed it was going to come. And what we have done with QNX Sound this year and formalized in a product portfolio is we have taken all those capabilities and we've pulled them together. There are a number of modules, you will hear the team talk about it, into one platform. And that platform, for someone that is progressive in how they are addressing sound in the architecture in the future, is going to reside either in an HPC compute domain or in a consolidated digital cockpit. And what is the beauty here? The beauty is you're moving to software-defined sound management and you're consolidating it on a digital cockpit, which the vast majority already have QNX sitting at the bottom of it. And it's by far the best sound software platform today in the market. It saves cost. It provides a much easier way of deploying and optimizing the sound experience. And we actually, I don't think we have announced it, we have our first OEM win. We cannot tell you who it is for this platform. And we are very excited. It fits very nicely into this more layers story. And we have staffed the team last year. We're up and running.
Marvelous. Will, I think you had a question?
So I'm curious about how, delays, slowing, pushing out of OEMs on their own software development impacts, whether it's QNX or Ivy and your own development. Does that make it more difficult to work with partners and develop new use cases? Or is it more so you're able to kind of do your own thing in the background and wait for that spending to come back on the OEM side?
It doesn't actually impact our development at all. Our teams, we have lots of work. What it does do is it creates an opportunity. These delays are caused by
is it not working? Testing. Sorry. Yeah, these delays, it's very well known what's causing these delays. It's taking on the integration role and having a lot of difficulty managing a bunch of suppliers, building layers on top of layers on top of layers, creating performance problems, quality problems. So it's an opportunity now to talk to the OEMs about, hey, maybe it's time that we provide a little bit more integrated into the operating system, that you've been adding layers. Now we can do a much more efficient job by bringing these layers into QNX using the native IPCs, integrating schedulers and things like that directly into the kernel. And so, when we talk about more layers, increasing the ARPU, we see it as an opportunity. The last 2 years has been an experience. I think the OEMs have struggled with, where do I need to own software? What's the value of software? For me, very much to what Vito said. The value should be the light that you can give your customers, not working on a hypervisor. And so we see that there's an opportunity maybe to do more and to provide more of a platform that's ready for applications.
I agree with John, and I think my silver lining of all of this is that it's a delay, but it really helps leaders, decision makers at the OEM understanding that delay over delay over delay, at some point you said, hey, that undifferentiated middleware stuff, why don't you go and get it from BlackBerry? It works, it's there. We don't need 1,000 engineers. We need few dollars to buy.
And we're seeing that shift. We're seeing that shift.
So it's good, but it's delayed. It delays.
Could we get a mic to Ian at the front here? Thank you.
Hi, question about QNX sound. A lot of the sound discussions I've had recently, and it might just be me, have been about external sound, external microphones, external speakers. Is that part of the QNX sound vision as well? Because most of the stuff to date has talked about interior applications.
Yes, that's part of it as well.
And so they're often safety critical apps.
Absolutely.
Very
so
much
we
your wheelhouse.
have actually safety certified chimes.
Okay.
You know, the disconnecting of automated driving to the driver having taken over. Believe it or not, that chime needs to be safety certified. So obviously that's our pedigree.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the things that Matthias talked about, all these different sound components within the vehicle, on the external of the vehicle, is in some cases you're taking away sound, in some cases you're making sound. So this centralization of all these components, we have a tool that allows for very easy tuning. If these are all separate boxes, this is a lot of work to bring this all together. I'm removing sound, but I'm adding sound.
And then that's a related question. You said, Matthias, that these are separate boxes, which typically would have multiple of different people at your customer. And so in similar products I've talked to companies, their number one challenge has actually been finding the one person I can sell it to rather than trying to sell it to 10 people simultaneously. Is that a problem? How are you getting around it?
So that is a critical comment, and maybe I'm going to state things now that are obvious for everybody, but if you think about the theme here, so you think about, start with sound. Sound today in an OEM is spread out across multiple departments. If you are the head of software and you decide that you're going to change this architecture to reduce friction and speed things up and take cost out and all of those things, you're going to have to reorganize. and that is at the heart of the challenge we have across the go-to-market motion. Whether it's sound, or whether it's Ivy, or whether it's the foundational software that John is making, what we're basically saying, if you really want to make progress, if you want to take cost out, you want to become faster, you need to get out of the underwear of software, whether it's the underwear for sound or foundational software or Ivy. By that, use your engineers higher up in the stack on stuff that actually matters for the consumer. And why does it resonate? Well, you go to, and I don't point at anyone in particular, go to any OEM and look at what has happened in the last 12 months. Everybody, they are behind. They're all behind now. And that is the opportunity, but it's also the challenge. Our solutions are striking at the heart of the software organization within the OEM. So.
Yep. Shreyas down here. Thank you.
Curious how your solutions help with the ability to update, existing software without having to go through very long revalidation processes, which I think, like some of these automakers think of ADAS applications, right? If they want to even make one adjustment to, lane keep assist, you have to revalidate everything in the system, and it takes forever. So how, I'm curious if your approach can help address that.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a challenge. There's no question about it. And I've heard that from the OEMs. And that is something that we are working with the OEMs to help with. The very nature of QNX being a microkernel operating system means we don't have to replace a large portion of our product for an update or to address a problem. The way we do safety is we're very targeted in safety. We are, because we're a CEOC, so we're safety certified out of context. We work with the OEMs, and a lot of people think when you're building a safety system, everything in the system has to be safety certified. That's not the case. You work with the OEMs, you work with the tier ones or whoever, the integrator, and you define the safety case. We do a lot of work with the OEMs on the safety case. We try to minimize the amount of work that they need to do in that area to prevent or to allow them to be able to update parts of the vehicle without impacting the safety case. And this is really the challenge of SDV going forward. If you're going to be delivering new workloads to the car, that's not how car companies work today. Car companies work today, they create a load, it's a gold master, they hope never have to revisit it again. So the big challenge going into the future is how do you have mixed criticality systems? Systems that have safety and systems that don't have safety. How do I introduce a new workload and not impact the safety? So that's an ongoing thing.
Okay, conscious of the time, so I've got time for two more. So, John, QNX everywhere. So there's a press release today. I just wanted to touch on that and just make sure that people heard why it's important.
Yeah, so this is the most exciting thing for me that I'm allowed to talk about. So QNX everywhere is the concept of allowing QNX to be available for free for non-commercial use, broadly, with no barriers to entry. It's also our first starting point of open sourcing and to have it more and more in the community. And the reason that we're doing this and why this is so important, when I speak to OEMs, one of the things that they really appreciate about Linux is the ecosystem. Ecosystem is massive for Linux. It means when they're hiring engineers, find engineers that are well-versed in Linux. Even though QNX isn't very different from an application perspective, they still feel that we're not out there broadly enough. I also think that people believe we're closed. So if we want to have a bigger footprint, take on more of the platform within the vehicle, we have to have more transparency. So we are going to start the process of making it available for free, non-commercial use. Business model is not changing for commercial use. And then gradually open sourcing the product as well.
Wonderful. Okay, last question. So, Matthias, so despite we've mentioned here about programs shifting out to the right, obviously people have heard about the impact of the UAW strikes. There's some general macro uncertainty, but despite all of that, we still expect Q4 to be a record in terms of revenue ever for the IoT business unit. So how are you feeling about this business going into our next fiscal year, FY25, and what are your priorities?
Yeah. So lots of topics there. Let me be brief and let's see what questions comes back. So first of all, I feel great about going into next year. We have never been stronger. What is the elephant in the room? The elephant in the room is this year is a horrible financial disappointment for us as a business unit. We are behind all our financial targets. We made significant reductions in the investment level, but in spite of that, we have executed on the greatest product launch year in a decade. We have record design wins for the second year in a row. And if I think about the discussions we're having, and we've touched upon some of them at present with customers and partners, everybody's asking for more. So the way we have talked about it and the way to think about it is there's a growth curve, not just for ADAS and DC, but also for the next generation compute domains, so HPC, zonal, the gateway, whatever it is, that has shifted to the right. And what we are trying to do is help them shift to the left. So, there's this tension between the short-term pain and the long-term gain. To answer your question, I've never felt better. Our position is much stronger this year than it was at last year's CES. We have made significant progress. We have a number of very exciting things on the docket for next year, and we'll come back and talk about them, as we close out the year, and then we have the analyst summit and so forth. John has mentioned one, a couple of others that we would like to put forward, but not in this forum.
Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone in the room, for your questions and for coming. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in online. Sorry we didn't get to all your questions, but we'll try and take up some of those offline. So with that, thank you, and have a great day.
All right, hopefully you guys could hear me. What was I going to say, though? Thanks again for tuning in. Appreciate it. I'd say the key takeaways is the fact that they are getting a bunch of OEMs coming in, which is awesome. So there was a large OEM that they said is signing up for BlackBerry Ivy. So that's amazing. How big, we don't know. Where it could rank in terms of automotive sales throughout the year within a global access for the overall globe. So that's great. They have another OEM for this sound, QNX sound. So a bunch of OEMs lined up, which is awesome, which in terms of OEMs is, from what I know and all stuff from the OEM aspect side, is they all benchmark each other. They all try to make sure that they're relatively all around the same kind of tech space kind of thing in terms of level, at least that they're not that far advanced. If they are far advanced, it depends on prices of the vehicle and all that stuff. If it's like the luxury aspect, obviously different lower tier vehicles won't try to catch up fully, but because they all benchmark each other, because they all try not to stay too far behind, and if with the way BlackBerry is saying that their systems come with ease, reduced cost, more efficient in terms of speed of development, it's a win-win all around, where others could sign up. And again, from before, BlackBerry Ivy mentioned, or John Chen and all that stuff, in terms of BlackBerry Ivy, the OEM will also be profitable with reoccurring revenue from their side, which BlackBerry will also benefit, and Amazon too, because it's partnership. So that's great news from that point. The rest of the talk was just basically all the press releases as well. And towards the end, you guys saw that they're aware of their financials not being that great, but they are positive for the future. It seems like basically from the previous talk that was in October 17th, I think, of 2023, they mentioned that the reason why their revenue was low or profits were low is because their cost was so high in terms of investments. I know that was on the cybersecurity side, but I think that does translate in the overall business as well, where their investments must have been pretty high. And now they have great products. They're cutting back on the investments, and now they just need to sell. And hopefully the fruits of the labor are going to start coming in right now. And let me see. And I think there was one other thing. That's basically it, actually. Again, I want to reiterate the Foxconn thing. The Foxconn thing is quite important. Foxconn / MIH, which is, I forgot the actual term for them, but they've signed up with BlackBerry Ivy. They produce cell phones right now for like Apple iPhones and so on and so forth. They have about 40 to 45% of the market, cell phone market, in terms of producing. They want to, by 2025, produce 5% of the EVs out there in the world. And they want to, at one point, it seems like it from the verbatim right here, or the text right here, they want to get to 40 to 45% at one point of producing electric vehicles, just like they are for cell phones, which is great because if they've incorporated BlackBerry Ivy, that's a win for BlackBerry, obviously, and / the amount of volume that they want to hit, it'll just bump up the revenue overall. I feel like I'm missing something, but in the meantime, thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. I'll cover it in the next videos. I'm going to cover the conference calls for the Q4 coming up in March of 2024. That'll wrap up the fiscal year, and I'll do street estimates and comparisons quarter after quarter and all that stuff in the coming up either week or next week and all that stuff. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in. Appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.